All right, so ready to jump into a world where you can't quite trust anything, even your own memories.
Sounds intriguing. I'm ready when you are.
Let's do it. Today we're taking a deep dive into Tell Me What You Did by Carter Wilson.
Oh, this is going to be good. I love anything by Carter Wilson. He's a master at psychological thrillers.
From the review you gave me, it sounds like he's really upped the ante with this one,
Yeah.
especially with how he plays with memory. The main character, Eleanor, can't remember a traumatic event from her past.
Yeah, and that unreliable narrator element is so key to his writing style. He really makes you question everything. Like, is Eleanor a reliable source? Are we getting the full story? What's she holding back?
And to make matters worse, someone starts sending her cryptic messages,
Mhm.
like little hints about what actually happened.
It's like he's poking at her trauma, almost like he's trying to control her.
Ooh, I see where you're going with this. It's like gaslighting almost, making her doubt her own reality.
Exactly. And because she's already struggling with her memory, she's even more vulnerable to that kind of manipulation. It's like he's really got her trapped in her own mind.
That's got to be terrifying, to not even trust your own memories. The review even mentioned it might be a difficult read for anyone who has experience with trauma. It's not just a fictional device, it's a real issue.
Absolutely. And I think that's what sets Carter Wilson apart from other thriller writers. He doesn't shy away from the real psychological weight of trauma. He shows how it can linger and impact every aspect of your life, even the smallest things.
So how does he portray that in Eleanor? What are the signs she's struggling with something deeper?
It's not just about what she can't remember, it's how those missing pieces make her act in the present. She's constantly anxious, paranoid, second-guessing herself, like she can't quite get a grip on reality. Those are all pretty classic symptoms of someone struggling with a traumatic past.
I'm dying to know what that past trauma is. Does he reveal it right away?
Oh, no, no, no. That's part of the slow burn. He keeps both us and Eleanor in the dark, doling out pieces of the puzzle bit by bit, just enough to keep you hooked.
So it's more of a psychological puzzle box then.
Exactly. You're trying to piece together Eleanor's memories along with her, while also trying to figure out who's sending these cryptic messages and what their agenda is.
And is there a reason those messages are being sent?
Hmm?
Or is this sender just messing with her for fun?
Oh, I think there's definitely a reason. But uncovering that reason is part of the mystery.
Okay, so we've got this unreliable narrator, cryptic messages, and a traumatic past we don't even know about yet. But what about Eleanor herself? The review called her a compelling, flawed protagonist. What makes her so fascinating?
Well, she's not just a victim, she's a survivor. She rebuilt her life after something horrific happened, and that takes strength. But she's still deeply scarred by it. And that internal struggle, that fear and uncertainty she carries with her, it makes her so relatable, even when she's making decisions that seem totally irrational.
It makes me think about how those messages are like echoes of the past, coming back to haunt her.
You hit the nail on the head. Those messages are like triggers, unlocking those repressed memories. And she's forced to confront the truth she's been trying so hard to bury.
It's almost like the past never really stays buried, huh? It always
Yeah.
finds a way to creep back in.
It's a classic theme for a reason. It's so true. The past always haunts us, no matter how hard we try to run from it.
So we've got this dark, twisty psychological thriller with a compelling but flawed character at its center. But the review also mentioned that Tell Me What You Did is packed with jaw-dropping twists. I'm a sucker for a good twist. Without giving anything away, can you tease us with what makes Wilson's twists so unique?
Well, he's really good at making them feel organic to the story. It's not just about shock value. They actually make sense coming from the characters and their motivations. And they always leave you reeling like, whoa, I did not see that coming.
So it's not just a random gotcha moment thrown in for the sake of surprise.
No, not at all. They're cleverly woven into the narrative, making you reevaluate everything you thought you knew.
You're making me really want to pick this book up right now. It's like that feeling you get when you know something bad is going to happen, but you don't know when or how.
Exactly. And Wilson is a master at building that anticipation. He creates this atmosphere of dread, like something's lurking just around the corner, but you can't quite see it.
So it's a slow burn, but once it gets going, it's a wild ride.
You got it. It's like a train wreck in slow motion. You can't look away, even though you know it's going to be bad.
And that atmosphere, that creeping dread, paired with the unreliable narrator and the constant drip feed of clues, it all makes Polaris. Tell Me What You Did so much more than just your average thriller.
Totally agree. It's a psychological puzzle box, a descent into the darkest parts of the human psyche.
And we haven't even scratched the surface of all the secrets this story holds. But I think that's a conversation for our next segment.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Tell Me What You Did. Before we got sidetracked, we were talking about how Wilson really takes his time building the suspense in this one.
Yeah, he's really playing with us, making us question if we can trust anyone, even Eleanor herself. It makes me wonder, why are we so drawn to stories with unreliable narrators like this? What is it about these messed up characters and their hidden secrets that we find so captivating?
I think, well, maybe it's because we're fascinated by how the mind works, especially when it's, under pressure.
It's like we get to peek behind the curtain
Right.
and see the raw, unfiltered thoughts of someone whose mind is kind of falling apart.
I guess you could say that. It's like that morbid curiosity we have wanting to understand how someone could reach a breaking point, how easily our perception of reality can be warped.
It makes you think, like, if it can happen to them, could it happen to me?
Exactly. It forces us to think about how fragile our own minds are, how easily our own memories and beliefs can be shaped or changed.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what makes these psychological thrillers so unsettling. It's like they're holding a mirror up to our own vulnerabilities.
Right. And speaking of other thrillers, the review mentioned a few books with similar themes: The Girl on the Train, Gone Girl, The Silent Patient. What do you think it is about these types of books that really gets under people's skin?
I think it's that feeling of unease, of knowing that something's not quite right. But also, all those books have characters who are battling their own demons, whether it's guilt or trauma or just like a skewed sense of reality. And we can empathize with their struggles, even when they're making terrible decisions.
You're so right. It's like we see a part of ourselves in them, even the flawed parts.
So it seems like with Tell Me What You Did, Carter Wilson is joining a pretty impressive club. He's taking those classic thriller elements and giving them his own spin.
He's definitely playing in the same league, but he brings his own unique tools to the game.
hmm
And one of those tools is his incredible use of atmosphere. He really immerses you in the story.
Oh, yeah. How so? What are some of the techniques he uses to create that creepy vibe?
Well, he's amazing with sensory details. He describes the setting so vividly you can practically feel the chill in the air, or smell the dampness of the woods surrounding Eleanor's cabin.
So he's not just telling us the story, he's making us experience it with all of our senses.
Exactly. And he doesn't stop at the setting. He does the same thing with the characters. He really gets inside their heads and shows us their anxiety and fear through their thoughts, actions, even their physical reactions.
It's like we're living the story right alongside them.
Right. And that makes those plot twists hit even harder. When something shocking happens, it's not just a surprise, it's like a punch in the gut.
You mentioned those twists earlier, and the review did call them jaw-dropping. Can you give us a little sneak peek into how Wilson pulls those off without spoiling anything? What makes them so effective?
It all goes back to that misdirection he's so good at. He'll sprinkle clues throughout the story, but he'll also plant these little red herrings, leading us down the wrong path.
Oh, sneaky. And then when the truth finally comes out, it's from a completely unexpected angle.
Exactly. It's like, wait, how did I miss that? He makes us reevaluate everything we thought we knew.
He's messing with our minds. It's like he's saying, you think you're so smart? Try to figure this one out.
That's exactly what makes it so fun to read. We're constantly trying to outsmart him, trying to piece together the puzzle before the characters do. But he's always one step ahead.
So we talked about those twists and the unreliable narrator. But besides that, what are some of the deeper things Wilson is trying to explore in the talk? Tell me what you did. We touched on memory and trauma, but is there anything else you picked up on?
I think a big one is the whole idea of manipulation, how easily we can be swayed, especially when we're already feeling vulnerable or uncertain.
That ties into the whole gaslighting thing, doesn't it? Making someone doubt their own sanity.
Absolutely. And that's something that goes way beyond just fiction. Think about all the information we're bombarded with every day, all the competing narratives. How do we even know what's true anymore?
Oh, yeah. Especially with social media and well, everything going on these days. It's hard to know who or what to believe.
And Tell Me What You Did really makes us confront that. It's like a warning about the dangers of blindly accepting what we're told, whether it's from the news, from authority figures, even from our own memories.
So it's like he's telling us to think critically, to question everything, and to trust our gut instincts.
You got it. Which is pretty interesting for a genre that relies so heavily on manipulating the reader, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. He's playing with our expectations on multiple levels. We've talked about a lot here. The unreliable narrator, the suspense, the twists, and now this whole idea of manipulation and the nature of truth. It's obvious that Tell Me What You Did is more than just a thriller.
It really is. It's a story that sticks with you, makes you question everything you thought you knew.
And sometimes the most unsettling mysteries are the ones that we find within ourselves.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I think we've done a pretty good job unpacking this one.
We've definitely covered a lot of ground. We've explored all the suspense, the psychological depth, and hopefully given our listeners everything they need to unravel this mystery themselves.
If you're looking for a book that'll keep you guessing, make you think, and stay with you long after you've finished it, Tell Me What You Did is the book for you.
Absolutely. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about what makes this book such a great choice for thriller fans specifically. And before we wrap up, we'll leave you with one final question to ponder as you dive into Carter Wilson's world. We're back, ready to wrap up our deep dive into Tell Me What You Did. We've really gotten into Eleanor's head, explored those manipulation tactics, and all the twists Wilson throws at us. What makes this a book thriller fans are really going to love.
One thing that stands out, is how he mixes those familiar thriller elements with his own style. We've got the unreliable narrator, that slow burn suspense, the twists we keep talking about, but it's how he puts it all together that makes it special.
Right. It's not just what he's saying, it's how he's saying it. So what's special about Wilson's, his how?
The atmosphere, for sure. It's not just background, it's like another character. The way he writes about how isolated Eleanor is, stuck in that remote cabin. And emotionally, with those messed up memories, it really makes you feel uneasy, like the whole time you're reading it.
Yeah, that setting. It's almost claustrophobic, isn't it? Like the walls are closing in.
Exactly. And then he adds those little details, those sensory things. He doesn't just say it's raining. He describes the sound of the rain on the roof, the wind, little touches that really pull you in.
It makes it feel so real. You're not just reading the story, you're experiencing it.
Right. And when something shocking happens, when there's a twist, it hits you harder because of that.
The review did say some people might find the first part kind of slow. What would you say to those readers who are used to, like, fast-paced thrillers?
I'd say that slow start is important. It's all about the buildup. Like, tension builds slowly until, bam, it just explodes.
The bigger the buildup, the bigger the payoff, right?
Yeah, something like that. And the payoff in Tell Me What You Did, it's huge.
I keep thinking about what we talked about earlier, about truth and how memory works. That's really relevant these days, don't you think, with so much information coming at us all the time?
Totally. Wilson's playing with this idea that memory, well, it can be tricky, it can be changed or, even made up. And in a world where there's so much misinformation out there, that's kind of a scary thought.
So he's making us think about what we believe,
Yeah.
right? To really look at the information we're taking in and even question our own memories.
Exactly. And that's a big part of what makes this book resonate with people, I think. It's not just a good story. It's about something bigger. It's about how vulnerable we are to manipulation and how important it is to think for ourselves.
Sometimes the most scary mysteries, they're the ones inside us, right?
Yeah, I think so. We did a pretty good job breaking this one down.
We covered a lot. All the suspense, the psychology, those twists. Hopefully we've given everyone listening a good idea of what to expect.
If you want a book that'll keep you on the edge of your seat, make you question everything, and think even after you've finished, definitely check out Tell Me What You Did.
Couldn't agree more. So there you have it. Another deep dive wrapped up. Time to explore those mysteries for yourself. Happy reading, everyone.